Hello chicos, welcome to the Spanish Cat. This is going to be a short video about how to express likes and dislikes. There's mainly three phrases that we're gonna use in Spanish every day, and they have to be used in different situations with different people. This is from the grammar perspective, of course. You can use it however you want it. With anyone you want. Just you need to be aware that they don't translate quite as the same as in English, so there's not an equivalent, or they change a little bit. So we just need to be careful with the meaning of the verbs and how they are working. So the first part of the video, I'm gonna just show you the three phrases, and then after that, we can just dissect the sentences and understand why we say that or how they structure. And in this way, you will be able to use them with more confidence and in the right moment. Okay, so let's start. English has this beautiful phrase that is is quite flexible, and you can use it anywhere, anytime, and is "I like you." How can I bring that into Spanish and say and convey the same idea that that this phrase can give me in English? Okay, so let's see that one. In Spanish, I like you will be me gustas. But we have just a little bit of a problem here, and that is that gustar, the verb gustar, the one we're using here, that means to be pleasing, basically. And what we're gonna use this one for is in reality just when I feel attracted to someone, and that's it. It really remains in physical terms and how beautiful this person may be to you. So this is to be used with that connotation, with that idea. Basically quite sexual. The next one, if the one that we use every day with our family or friends, when we're leaving home, when we're saying hello, when we're texting or sending emails, just as a reminder, just to sign off any messages or say goodbye, we can tell them, te quiero. If you translate that into English, that sounds quite nasty. You might feel uncomfortable saying to someone, I want you. That doesn't is really obviously the case. So, but this is one needs to be used every day, and it's beautiful and it's very nice, and it's basically the equivalent of saying I like you, almost a little bit more, because it implies feelings, but they don't have to be romantic or anything, and it doesn't lose its strength as a phrase. If you really want someone, obviously you don't want them to think less of a phrase of hear it a little bit less than what it actually means. So te quiero is to be used every single day, so it's beautiful. Now comes te amo. Te amo, as you can imagine or suspect, is the strongest one in terms of how much emotion you're feeling and putting in this one. So that could be, in a very strict sense of a translation, would be I love you. But a little bit more than that. So we don't really use it every day. It would be a little bit too much. So much that in the end the person might stop believing us that we love them. It's just something so you can remember that that's to be used with care and sparingly, just a little bit. So as a reminder to your partner, to the person that you really truly love, that you are there for them and that you really love them. So there you have the three phrases that I was telling you about. So me gustas, maybe you can use it at a bar or even with friends, or you can talk about someone else that it made a really beautiful impression on you. So me gustas. Then comes te quiero, the one that you can use every day for family, for friends, anyone, absolutely anyone. And te amo. Of course, you can use them as well every day, but in culturally, Latin American and Spain, we won't do it. We were just gonna leave it very reserved for very special moments and very special people. Now, if we go through the sentences and we see the phrases, we're still seeing something that's missing. And how can we then fill that space that I like you or me gusta is going to be left in Spanish? That would be another phrase that you can use for people that you find nice, but not necessarily you want to give them that a little bit of a sexy sexual connotation. So in terms only of the personality when you're getting to know them. Sorry, my mic is not working. So we can tell them me caes bien. So that phrase there is quite friendly. You could use it with anyone when you're meeting them, as I said before, or you can tell them to your friends all the time, and that it's kind of a combo. It will be obviously in sexual terms, but not romantic or anything, and also the personality, the way of thinking, and just the person as a whole. You can tell them that, so that's quite nice. Obviously, you can make it negative and say no me caes bien, or we can go to the extreme and say me caes mal. So it sounds a little bit silly. It's not offensive. It's quite nice, so you could use it with ease and without worrying that you might offend someone. So these are the four phrases now that you could use to express likes and dislikes, and these ones obviously are more directed to people. You are gonna be able to use it with objects, with things, with concepts, absolutely anything that provokes feelings on you. But obviously, we started the class focusing the phrases if you were to tell them to another person. So here they are. So these are the phrases, and now after this, we're gonna start reviewing and seeing from the linguistic perspective and the grammar. Why do we have to say this, and especially how the verbs and everything is being used in these phrases, because it's not the same as you've been using them from the beginning when you started introducing yourself and talking about you and yourself in just normal verbs. These ones are a little bit different, but just to play by the rules, and we're gonna see them right now, bit by bit. Now, time to see why the phrases that we saw previously. Going back to the first one, me gustas. Let's have a look at it. This one is formed by what we call a indirect object pronoun, and that's this little one here. So we are gonna have different sets, different type of pronouns. And before I continue, a pronoun is just that. It's just that a word that takes the place of a noun. In this case, it's going to help us to identify, or it will let me know who is the receiver of the verb. So we can see that they are not matching. So the performer is represented with an AS, and AS represents to. So you are performing the action, you are the one pleasing. And then if we look at the pronoun at the beginning, that represents myself. So that means that I receive that pleasing effect from you. So literally you will be saying you are pleasing to me, as we said it before. But it is just that. It is because we're gonna, to say that, we're gonna need to represent it with an indirect object pronoun and then the verb. The verb always commands the sentence, of course, but then it will be complemented always by the rest of the sentence, and in this case, it will be an object pronoun. Why an object? Because of that, I always like to play with the idea that an object pronoun helps me to represent the victim of the sentence. So that's why they gave it the name object. We're no longer in power of the sentence, we are just being objectified in a way by the verb. So if we go down the line, so I can show you all the different forms for every single person, how can they be represented as objects, so they no longer have the power. The verb is commanding and is about someone else, and then let's have a look at the rest of them. So that's for yo. for te, that's you. Le, that word doesn't change from boys and girls, it stays the same, so that would be him or her. Nos, os, and les. So you more or less can see and can identify who are all of these people. So we have me for to me or for me, te for you or to you, le for him or her, nos for us, os for vosotros. That would be the plural that doesn't exist in English, and that is not really used in Latin America. So it's only in Spain. Vosotros, so you in plural, all of you or you. And les would be the equivalent for Latin America, a plural of you, or the word for them. By changing all of these, and instead of saying yo, I'm saying me, that indicates that I'm not performing the action, that I'm actually just receiving it. I'm receiving something. And that's these are the ones that we use for creating the phrases I like you. English does it the other way around, but let's not get confused. Okay, the next phrase that we saw was, I think, te amo. And look what happens here. Now, if we can see the verb, it is matched with yo. I am the one now performing the action, and I am not being the object of this because I'm doing it. I am the one loving. This is the verb for to love. But have a look at the pronoun. The pronoun is in te, so that represents to you or for you. So basically now I'm swapping it around. I'm in command of the sentence. I'm not an object, but now you are the object. So I'm telling you, I love you. So, and it can work with obviously all the set that we saw before, and that is te amo. And the same will apply with me caes bien, that we said that this is the closest one that we can use for translating I like you without a sexual connotation, but just in a nice way, like you will say I like you in English to a person. And me caes bien, or you can obviously use it in negative and say no me caes bien. As I said, that is a little bit funny. You won't be offensive, but you can use it, okay? And we were missing now te quiero. With that one, can you recognize who is performing the action? Can you see who's receiving? Yes, of course. Once again, because of the O, I am the one wanting you or loving you, and you are the one receiving that love. So I am commanding the sentence. I am not the object. You are the object pronoun. Let's have a look then at the phrases that we just saw quickly. So put them together because they are a little bit different. So on one side we had me gustas and me caes bien. Caes bien. And then there will be the phrases te amo and te quiero. Okay, so you will see the differences, and even though we're talking about feelings, in the end they work in a different way. So me gusta se me caes bien is matched with the other person has the power over us. You can see the ending as, and that represents you, and he's myself receiving that effect. But look at these ones. The verb is matched with an O, so that represents yo, and the pronoun is now matching you, so you are the object pronoun. You are receiving my love, you are receiving that effect from me, but a command. Now this, it looks a little bit overwhelming in terms of how you can identify the verbs, but that comes bit by bit and naturally. We can start with several verbs that work like gustar, and then you can bit by bit with practice with those verbs you're gonna understand which verbs need a pronoun and which ones don't, and who in the end represents the action and who receives it. But this is just comes with practice, but we can start making lists and trying to identify, and especially reading will help you quite a lot. So it could be just a game. Don't try to understand the whole text, but you can just on the internet try to read a little bit a paragraph from the news, and just focusing and trying to understand who performs, who receives, identify those little phrases that look this way, so you get used to visualizing the ending of the verb, and we're taking into account always the pronoun. And that will be easier bit by bit. Thanks.